No one, and I mean no one, since the invention of being cool, has ever taken up smoking for any other reason other than they thought it made them look cool. So it's not a huge leap to imagine that by making packaging look boring, some people will be discouraged from starting in the first place. A few weeks ago, it was the 24th anniversary of Canada's ban on smoking in public places. Not all the provinces came aboard at the same time, but they eventually did after legislation. There has been a reduction in the number of smokers, but more than 1 in 5 adults still engage in the deathly habit. Canada was proud of its ban at the time, despite the occasional grumble from fellows who came into the bar every night to puff their way through a pack of darts while sipping their pints. They soon fell into line, as did large parts of the world. In the days of smoke-filled bars, cigarettes were fun, exciting props, brandished with a flair, lit Harold Wilson pipe style to buy time in a discussion, prodded semi-threateningly to make a point, stubbed out forcefully to declare a conclusive victory. Now, smoking is dull. Despite the perception about the cool kids gossiping outside, the fact is, it's kind of rare to get a congregation of smokers outside a bar now. We are sporadic. So, instead, we slope off, apologetically, smoke half a cigarette on our own, get bored and walk back inside, always with a small but definite sense of defeat. Smoking is tedious, and removing branding from packaging will add to the dullness. We smokers, for whatever reason, are remarkably brand loyal. We convince ourselves that brand A is smoother than brand B, when really, there's only 4 types of cigarettes: ultra mild, light, normal, and how the hell do the French people smoke these? But like I said, it's a silly vain habit, and we like the pretty pictures on the packets. And of course, millions upon millions of dollars have been spent over the years on convincing us that we've chosen the right pretty picture. The picture that tells the world just what kind of person we are. You're not excluded from this, roll-up smokers. Think about what brand of tobacco you won't use. Think why. There are more than 45,400 deaths in Canada attributed to smoking, and the habit cost the economy $16.2 billion in 2012. According to a new study from the Conference Board of Canada, those costs include healthcare, tobacco enforcement, lost productivity, and lost years of life attributed to smoking, with healthcare alone costing Canada $6.5 billion. Although Canada's smoking rate is falling, the numbers of deaths and the cost of the economy continue to rise. The impact of smoking is a slow burn, says one doctor, Director of Health Economics and Policy at the Conference Board. So, people who began smoking 30 to 50 years ago are still dying. And the big bulge of baby boomers has reached the age when a lifetime of smoking is starting to show its effects. Mortality is going down, but it takes decades to see the impact of changes in behavior, Din said. In 2015, about 18% of the population smoked cigarettes, down from 22% a decade earlier. The last study of the overall cost and mortality of smoking in Canada was 10 years ago. Using figures from 2002, at that time, the year used for the current study, mortality had risen to 45,464 across Canada. 18% of all 2012 deaths includes 993 deaths caused by secondhand smoke and respiratory disease. But by 2012, more health problems were part of the impact. The most likely causes of death remain unchanged: cancers, cardiovascular diseases. Some experts have confirmed that the link between smoking and conditions such as macular degeneration, diabetes mellitus, tuberculosis, liver cancer, and colorectal cancer were all results of smoking. We're living longer, but are we living better? She asked. More men than women were dying. 58.5% of all smoking-related deaths were men. The cost to the Canadian economy added up among them. Hospital care, $3.8 billion. Prescription drugs, $1.7 billion. Physician care, $1 billion. Fire damage, $74.4 million. Tobacco research and prevention, $10 million. Tobacco control and law enforcement, $122 million. But the biggest costs were the loss of families of having the breadwinner die or become disabled because of smoking-related illness, and the productivity loss to employers of losing a worker to a smoking-related condition. So the question is, why is something that kills millions, costs governments millions in healthcare, and ruining people's lives all over the globe allowed to happen? The answer is, my friends, money. You see, global profits for tobacco trade total $35 billion, as smoking deaths top 6 million worldwide. Revenues from global tobacco sales are estimated to be close to $500 billion annually, generating combined profits for the 6 largest firms of $35.1 billion annually, more than $1,100 a second. Why is it legal? Well, these multi-billion-dollar companies give hundreds of millions of dollars in campaign contributions and lobby governments for decades, similar to the death grip that big oil has on governments. Myself, born of immigrant parents from a land where my father's family worked as tobacco farmers. My dad once told me he started smoking at age 8. I waited until the ripe age of 13 to start my deathly journey. Stealing smokes from my dad until I was 17, when I was allowed to smoke in the house. My dad smoked in the house, smoked in the car, he smoked everywhere. So I guess you can literally say I've been smoking all my life. It was normal. In the 50s, my dad would say, doctors would examine you with a cigarette in their mouth. Told expecting mothers it would help calm them during their pregnancy. We have come a long way from those days, but there's still a lot we need to do. I have unsuccessfully tried to kick the habit several times. It's tough, real tough. There are no real programs from the government healthcare to help people quit like there are with things like alcohol or cocaine addiction or gambling addiction. There must be so many methods on defeating this serious addiction, but I've been hard-pressed to find anything that will work. It's like society doesn't take this epidemic seriously. I guess I'm making this video as a form of therapy. I figure if it helps one person choose to quit, or not to start in the first place, then it's worth it. We all know it's a really bad habit and don't get much satisfaction out of it. But the fact is, these producers are allowed to put harmful, addictive properties into tobacco. How can we stand by and let them get rich off of something that ultimately kills more people than anything else? It's beyond stupidity, it's criminal. We need to shed more light on this issue. I hope something will change in government's view so that they see how other things like legalization of cannabis would replace tobacco in tax revenue, and on the plus side, doesn't kill off your customers in record numbers. A customer that will not put a strain on the healthcare system and stick around for a long life of happy consumerism. I'm gonna give quitting another shot. What do I have to lose? Wish me luck.